Hi, welcome. This is Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
The following audio is via a Skype call.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me, busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail. Wow, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's so great to be connecting with all of you. Thank you so very much for tuning in, turning us on, all of the great things that you guys do to connect with us. Thank you so very much for doing that. And, you know, what I love about this is once we go off the air, and sometimes not even when we go off the air, many of you are thinking about what we've said, and you shoot us an email, and you can do that in a number of different ways. Info at the Dr. Pat Show gets here. You go to our websites on Transformation Talk Radio, Dr. Pat Show. You type in the comments. And by the way, we get all of those and we read all of them. And if you give us your phone number and you want to chat with us, we pick up the phone and actually give you a call. Today is a great show. I mean, I love having Deb Acker joining me here today. And so here's what I love about today's show. You may have heard the Dalai Lama say this several years ago, but the Dalai Lama talked about what it's going to take to transform the world, a different energy. And he was talking about that feminine energy. And he has gone on to say that many, 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 many times. And today, Deb Acker brings something fresh to the conversation. Why tapping into our feminine energy can change everything. I love this. I got to say it again. Why tapping into our feminine energy can change everything. And this is a big conversation today. For many of you, you know Deb, you know her show. She's a transformational coach. She helps people all over the world break through their patterns and move into an authentic truth. And that's what we're learning and discovering about ourselves. How do we face ourselves and look deeply inside and find our soul's truths, our life purpose? How do we awaken to the truth of who we are? And Deb does this, works with people, and moves folks through things in a very short period of time. Why? Because she believes in transformation in a nanosecond, the fastest way, the best way to move through things so you can step fully into your lives. Whether you have listened to her hit show, and we're going to tell you about that, or you've heard her here, or you're working with her directly, this is the conversation about what it means to be successful in the world. And when did we hang up those masculine energies that we were so groomed to believe should be us in the 70s, in the 80s, and even in the 90s? When did we say, I don't think that's working for us? Deb, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be having this conversation. I think this is a conversation that really needs to be had, that people are not talking about it in the way that it needs to be. So I'm so excited to be talking with you.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I made an interesting comment because, you know, myself, I've been part of the movement. You know, I was part of the movement and everybody thought, I don't know how we went from, you know, things that happened in the early 60s or 69, 70. And then we went through a stage as women where we got confused. We had identity confusion about who we were supposed to be, especially as successful women. And, you know, what have you seen? What are some of the patterns that we developed? And I'm not saying we developed them overnight. I mean, we were literally told this is how you have to be, Deb, in order for you to be successful. And then the rules of the game changed, right?
Yeah. So what's really, really interesting, and I see it all the time in clients, and I've worked through it myself too, is this idea that we have to do, like we have to make stuff happen. And so many women know how to make things happen in their work, and then they try to take those over into into their relationships, into other areas of their life, and it doesn't work. And so that doing versus being, we so many of us don't know how to fully be. We don't know how to just be in our truth, be in our essence, be in our feminine power. So that's one really, really common one. Another one that's related to this is sort of the masculine energy and men are right and females are wrong. And so we got this messaging. And so then when we went to go access our feminine energy in the workplace, it was we created a scenario where it was made wrong, where it wasn't safe to show up from that vulnerability, from that place of power, from that feminine essence, from that truth and that being, and that just that allowing and receiving energy. And so we went into that masculine place of I'm gonna have, I mean, it's like you even look at the posture and how people stand, right? Our feminine energy exists in the lower half of our body, and our masculine is in the upper half. And if you think about how, most of us show up in a room, and how, when we're networking and stuff, where our energy is, where our body language is, so many times it's in our shoulders, it's in our torso. And so we can start to, we've all met those women that light up a room, right? That magnetize a room, and we wonder what they're doing, and it's so funny because it's contraindicative to really being in our feminine energy when we're like, what can I do to kind of show up that way? And it's really all about connecting to the lower half of our body and starting to really access that. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what do you make about how we've learned this? And, there's something to be said right now about the fact that we can go from one extreme to the next. We can go from, okay, I'm going to show you my masculine self to I'm going to show you my feminine self. But, we have learned some things. We've learned some patterns. Now what we're learning about is about the energy of this, about feminine energy, about masculine energy. And, when it all boils down to it, your show is about this thing called authentic truth, right? I
Yeah.
mean, this is one of the messages that you bring out into the world, truth and clarity and feeling lighter. Um, why are we so afraid to show ourselves in this way, do you think?
Well, because inherently, so the masculine is sort of a defensive, it can be a very defensive energy, right? It's like we're sort of prepared, we're ready to take on, we're ready to charge, we're ready. I heard the word attack as I was saying that. And so, that can be so strong in our masculine, but our feminine is all about this vulnerability, and it's all about this receiving. And sharing our truth means sharing a piece of ourselves and leaving ourselves open, to that vulnerability, which can lead to, I mean, if especially if you're in the corporate workplace, you may or may not be ready to, you may or may not be ready to really, people may or may not be ready to hear what you have to say if you're in your feminine energy. I mean, when you walk into a room and you share what I don't want you to know about me, which is a really scary thing to do. And if you think about sharing that in the corporate workplace, which, people may or may not be really ready for that, right? But
Yeah.
I'm it would take a lot of guts to be like, okay, what I don't want you to know about me in this moment is that, I'm worried about messing up my speech, or I'm worried about that, worried that you're gonna see a fault in me, right? And so it takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of guts, and a lot of just strength and our inner power to really step into that space of vulnerability and be able to share our truth, and know that sharing our truth isn't, quote unquote, going to kill us, that we aren't going to get attacked, if we share our truth.
Well, isn't this interesting? Because, we have really stepped up and have been in this place where fear has led the way. Shall I say, fear and censorship has led the way. And what
Yeah.
do I mean by that? Because, Deb, you talk about this a lot. If we're not being our authentic true self, then aren't we in the mode of editing? Isn't it like we show up as some editorial? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, basically it's like we're in that mode of just sort of we're in constant editing mode, right? It's like I can't say this, I can say this. And if you even like if you just focus on those words, right? I can't say this and I can say this. If you tap into the energy of that, that exists in our mind. So if you're always in editing mode, you're going to always be hanging out in your mind. And where the juice exists is actually moving into the heart space and really connecting to that heart and really tapping into that and moving from that. And that space, that's where no fear exists. And so it's like when you can take that journey, there's the quote I'm sure you've heard, like the longest journey that we'll ever take is from the head to the heart. Yeah. And when we can take that journey out of our minds and out of what we've been told is safe, right, and good, and move into our heart space, which is our truth, is where that delicious, yummy energy exists around the feminine, around love, and just really opening, drawing someone into your space and magnetizing them to you versus you trying to go make it happen. I mean, you could just feel how much more relaxed that is, how much more ease there is there. That's where like the yumminess really exists, which I love talking about yummy energy.
I do too. I love yummy.
Yeah,
I love the yummy word.
Yeah.
I really do. I think it is a fun word. And go back and not too long ago, if you and I ever used yummy on air, people would be like, what is up with those two? Well, I kind of like that. I kind of like when people say, what the heck is up with those two? Because, here we are, we're taking a message out into the world that is really different, that is different in a way that allows us to show who we are, but more importantly, how we can use and learn and teach this feminine energy in places where anger and fear don't belong. Let's take a short break. When we come back, how do we connect with our feminine energy? And what kind of practices can we use? How do we make this fun, especially if we want, you ready? Yummy relationships. Let's take a short break. Deb Acker's in the house. When we come back, I'm going to tell you about how you can find out more about her. Also, what she is up to. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Time to awaken into your call inside. It's time to awaken.
Hi, I'm Tim Darter.
And I'm Steve Kramer.
Join us on Spirit Fire Radio. Discover how to add the mechanics of meditation to your day.
And watch yourself connect in a whole new way. Find the amazing moments in life's routines that often pass us by. Add to your awareness with Spirit Fire Radio.
Tune in each Wednesday at 9 a.m. for your weekly guide to practical mindfulness. And to learn more, visit www.spiritfireradio.com.
Song of the Heart, Walking the Path of Light, from author and healer Francine Vale is available now. Through Francine's life story, we learn how imperative it is to love one another. Once this simple truth is learned, peace on earth will prevail. Song of the Heart is a life lived and a story told for this purpose. To learn more about Francine and her amazing gifts, or to order your copy of the book today, visit angelsandlightbeings.com.
Have you ever tried to make lifestyle changes but had difficulty following through? Imagine what it would be like to get up each morning with energy, clarity, and motivation to tackle the day. If you want to get past limiting barriers that are preventing you from living your best life, join holistic health and wellness coach T. Carrie Mitchell each month on the Dr. Pat Show. Or visit lifestyle120.com today and start to receive the personal attention you deserve.
Holistic Medical Center is where you find it all. A healthy space with doctors who care, see, and listen to the whole you. Hi, this is Dr. Darvish. If you have not found an answer to your chronic symptoms, you will find answers here at Holistic Medical Center. Our doctors find the root cause of your symptoms and guide your body towards healing naturally. We transform lives from within. Visit drdarvish.com or call 425-451-0404.
A word of caution, if you prefer the status quo and you are not interested in improving every aspect of your life, this book will trigger the shift out of you. The Truth is Funny, Shift Happens is available now. Author Colette Steffen brings the powerful knowledge and life-changing energy and empowerment from the radio airwaves to the pages of her new book. To get your copy in paperback or ebook, visit thetruthisfunny.com today.
Sky Siegel co-hosts one of today's most popular psychic shows, Angels and Answers, with Artie Hoffman, as she communicates healing messages from the spirit world. These messages can be astounding, enlightening, and life-changing. Born with the God-given talent of inner guidance and the amazing ability to heal, Sky has healed thousands of people. Schedule a reading with Sky now. Call 908-500-1474 and visit skyofangels.com.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. It's so great to be tuning in, all of you, to have you all tune us in and turn us on. I want to thank Alea Dow. That is the music you're going to be hearing throughout the week. Yesterday, I did a very special show dedicated to healing, and Alea Dow has given us permission to play all of her healing meditations, and there's much more to come. And so if you're wondering who that beautiful song is, that is a song that brings tears to my eyes. It is actually from her first album, and it's called Time to Awaken. Today, it is about awakening in another way, but a very important way. You know, I had no idea Deb Acker was going to talk about this today, but I'm really very acutely aware about the fact that we actually have the ability to tap into our feminine energy. Deb works with people all over the world. You know, in today's world, there are many successful women that have been conditioned to lead with masculine energy. I know, I've been through it. As a matter of fact, Deb, I walked around with those bow ties. I think that was in the 80s, right? All the women had these little ties that we wore, right?
I do remember that.
Remember that? Yeah, I think you were like a little teeny baby. I don't think Benny was born. But the thing is, all you need to do is watch that movie. What is that movie with Sigourney Weaver in it, and just see the whole suit thing. But the point is, we've evolved. But before we jump into this, and you're going to tell us how you work with people to connect, what is the best way people can find out more about you? And for those of you out there, we have 2 30-minute energy clearing sessions we're going to give away on the show later. But how can folks find out more about you, social media, your show, everything?
Yeah, so you can find out more about me on my website at DeborahAcker.com. It's just DeborahAcker.com. I have there and also at bit.ly/living in your truth guide. I have a free Living in Your Truth guide, and this is really like 13 steps that I took to really move towards truth in my life. And it's meant to be done over the year, though obviously you can read through it in one sitting and just begin to apply it. But it's really, really meant to help you to keep growing and stepping into and living from more and more and more truth. And I also have a free Living in Your Truth Facebook community, and that's at facebook.com/group/living in your truth. And really, I work with successful women who are in some area of their life, they're just sick and tired of settling, right? They're looking to create. Years ago, I set out to create a life I didn't want to take a vacation from, and now I help others do the same by creating abundance in their life, creating a purpose and a life that they absolutely love, and creating relationships that they love. So thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you here. I want to tap into that feminine energy, and I really do. You know, the times we live in, the days we live in, it's so easy to come up with another energy. And I don't even know how to describe the other energy, but that's why you're here, right?
Yeah.
You're here to keep me in check. But that's not the healing energy. That's not the energy that I remember. I remember the Dalai Lama when he came to Seattle, right? I mean, he was all about that. And I think at the time, Benny, correct me if I'm wrong, we actually had our governor was a woman, right, Benny? And I remember that. I remember just watching the Dalai Lama, the governor, and our senators, and I thought, oh my gosh, I didn't know we had all these women in government. And it was like an eye-opener for me. And you'd think, Deb, that I was really evolved, right? Mm-hmm. But even for those of us that burned our bras, that marched on Washington, I am really struck by the fact that I need to learn myself a little bit of feminine energy. Tell us how we do it. And are you saying that there isn't a time for masculine energy?
Well, I'm saying, well, okay, so let's actually let's first talk about.
I'm sorry, I ran away with the train right there.
So I want to actually tell like a really short story around what masculine energy looks like, right? And we've all been, so recently I was at a conference, and you Pat, we were talking about yummy energy, and I got up at this conference full of like all these business people, and I said the word yummy energy. So it was really, really fun just to be able to say that. But so I was at this conference, and you know how they turn on, a lot of times when you're at these workshops and stuff, they turn on music. And it was so interesting because here I am, you know, as I'm moving into more feminine energy, I'm becoming more focused on it. And all I could see, so there were, you know, they turned on some dance music, and I saw, you know, some women dancing sort of like they were, you know, around a table. And all I could see in that was this masculine energy, right? And this masculine energy, the masculine energy comes forth as like we're trying to be seen. So it's almost like the person that's like standing up and going over here, like I'm over here, can't you see me? Like it's this way that we step forward that we really want to be acknowledged, we want to be noticed, and in two, it's like all that energy goes, it's all up in the shoulders, it's all up in the upper half of the body. So I'm walking through this room, just kind of going to exit the room, and all I see is like just this group of women, successful women, and they're moving from their masculine energy, right? And so how do we begin to move more into the feminine? Because let me tell you guys, like one of the biggest benefits of moving into the feminine is you actually step into this place where you're able to be received, right? Where you're able to receive, as opposed to having to go and effort and make things happen in your life. All of a sudden you're magnetizing, you're attracting that to you. So can you imagine what a world would be like if it was a literally only where you were literally it was like you wanted new clients and they just came to you versus you going and having to go make, quote unquote, make that happen, for instance, right? And so one really powerful, really strong way that you can begin to access your feminine energy is literally by bringing your attention to the lower half of your body, right? So you bring light through your body, and then you begin by bringing that attention to the lower half of your body. And really, the thing that I always do to really start to access my feminine energy is to start to, even if I'm in a room full of people, I just start to see, even if I'm not doing it, I kind of am doing it, I'm kind of just seeing it being done, and I just start to see my hips sort of moving in that figure eight, right? So I put my attention into the lower half of my body, and then I allow I see my hips just sort of moving in that figure eight. So it's like literally just putting that attention and that energy in that focus, right? So that's one really, really powerful way. And then from there, you start to emanate, you relax in your shoulders and you relax in that upper half of your body, and you start to emanate this light and emanate this love and just emanate this open, flowing energy that we all have the ability to access, but we've kind of really shut down. You start to just really put your attention and focus on, okay, I'm just going to like project love towards the person that's in front of me. I'm going to project love and light and this flowing energy into this room. And you just literally, all that is just literally seeing it kind of fill the entire room. So seeing your heart and that, an open heart, and seeing it like allowing that heart to just like fill the entire room with love and with light.
Well, this is really part of the energy and the shift. And I want to ask you this question. There's a reason for doing this. There's a reason. And I want us to talk about what the reason is and why this is so important. People have said it's really interesting to be in the world today and to be part of, what I think is such contrast. Yeah. I woke up this morning with such contrast in the world. And it's hard for me to make sense of it. And then I had to ask myself, Deb, wow, is this any different than when I was growing up in the 70s? Was this any different? And on the one hand, it was love, peace, and rock and roll. And the other hand, it was war. And I thought to myself, well, we're talking about feminine energy today. Can I remember things, times, effort when this feminine energy came to the forefront? So I want to use an example that has nothing to do with the United States and any of that. I was so struck by this young woman who won the Nobel Prize, right? She won the Nobel Peace Prize, not in the first year. And the reason they didn't give it to her in the first year, because they thought it was like super controversial to do that, and everybody got afraid. And she got the Peace Prize. And this is a woman that refused to surrender to fear. And here's the misconception I'd like us to talk about when we come back. Somehow along the way, we have looked at feminine energy as weak, right?
Yeah.
There's this idea that even for men, if men show up and demonstrate what we're talking about today, there are some folks that think it is a sign of weakness. But what is it about this energy that calls attention for another way of being? And what is it that we can expect from tapping into our feminine energy that can create a yummy, yummy life? Now, take all of that into a world of business that is demanding us to collaborate, even more so than to compete. And what do we have? Let's take a short break. When we come back, we've got some great things to share with you, a giveaway. And if you're ready to weigh in, 1-800-930-2819. Deb Acker is in the house. We'll make sure we give you lots of information. Are you ready to tap into your feminine energy? We'll be right back.
Into your call inside. It's time to awaken.
Hi, this is Leslie Fontaine, and my show is Sheer Alchemy on TransformationTalkRadio.com. When we're bogged down with our emotions, the hardships that plague us in our relationships, at work, our finances, we literally can't see the higher plane where we could be operating from. Tune in to Leslie Fontaine, Sheer Alchemy on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
If you're one of the millions of Americans suffering from anxiety, you probably know how powerless and out of control this emotion can make you feel. This is why it is so important to remember that anxiety is created by your mind, which means that you can learn to use your mind to uncreate it. Hello, my name is Dr. Friedman Schaub. My award-winning book, The Fear and Anxiety Solution, provides you with a step-by-step breakthrough process to understand and resolve the root causes of your anxiety and build a solid foundation of confidence and inner peace. If you're ready to take your power back, visit thefearandanxietysolution.com. That's thefearandanxietysolution.com, or call 866-903-6463. That's 866-903-MIND.
I'm Christine Upchurch, and this is a Stellar Reflections Minute. As a former research statistician, my scientific background is what many would call sensible. For more than a decade now, I have been working in the field of energy medicine, facilitating sessions and teaching around the world. People from the mainstream often ask me, how did a sensible woman like you end up working in such an alternative field? Implicit in their question is the underlying assumption that the field of subtle energy, such as energy healing and intuition, isn't sensible. But I believe it is very sensible. Even scientists are able to measure aspects of this. Approaching life from an energetic perspective brings us new opportunity for healing and transformation. And from a practical standpoint, even if you can't rationally explain how something works, if you experience a shift from it, then doesn't it make it pretty sensible? Please visit StellarReflections.com or call 425-999-9836. That's 425-999-9836.
What if your body and mind were the compasses to the secrets, mysteries, and magic of life? Glenna Rice, co-host of The Questionable Parent, is inviting you to access all that is possible. Glenna is a 10-year certified veteran access consciousness facilitator who offers an amazing variety of life-changing classes and workshops. Work with Glenna from anywhere with teleclasses and workshops all over the globe. To learn more and see Glenna's current schedule of events, classes, and workshops, visit glennarice.com.
Hey everyone, welcome back. It's great to have you here. I'm Dr. Pat Debecker joining me on the show right now. And, we're talking about, why tapping into our feminine energy can change everything. Change everything. And this is a conversation that is so vitally important right now because we have so many misconceptions about what that means. In this segment, we're going to talk with Deb about what does that mean. Does it mean that when we tap into our feminine energy, that we become weak in some way, that we don't stand for the things we believe in? Deb's going to talk about that. Before we do, Deb, again, please give out your information. And then also, let's tell folks, we're going to be giving away 30-minute energy clearing. Tell folks a little bit about that.
Yeah, so people can reach me at www.deboraacker.com. I also have a free Living in Your Truth guide there, and you can also access that at bit.ly/livingInYourTruthGuide. And I also have a free Living in Your Truth Facebook community, and that's also at facebook.com/group/livingInYourTruth. And also my show, Truth Talk Radio, where we have these honest, open conversations, and where my goal is always to bring truth and light to a conversation and really talk about how that can really change the world. So the 2 30-minute energy clearing sessions that I'm giving away, really, so many times when we go to change something in our life, we change what's on the outside, right? We get a new job, we get a new relationship, and what I do is work with what's on the inside to change the outer world. So many times we have like inner abundance blocks that are blocking us from being able to attract the kind of money that we want in our life, for instance. And so maybe you have a ceiling on how much you've been able to make in the past. And what we'll do in the session and what I do in my work is we clear those blocks so that you're able to raise your abundance ceiling, for instance. You're able to clear the patterns that keep you attracting that same type of person over and over. And you're able to step into more truth and really create a life that you do not want to take a vacation from. And so that's really, all my work is really about life creation and really creating the life that you truly desire and that you truly deserve, and to stop settling for what's, for anything less than what you truly desire and deserve.
Yeah. And, this is what we'll do right now. We got 2 of these to give away, but I want to jump right to it. I want to give the first one away to the first caller, 1-800-930-2819, 1-800-930-2819. Please give us a call. Deb, to get back to, the why tap into our feminine energy, but also to talk about, some of the misconceptions we have. There are reasons that, we select to use masculine energy at work or in business. And, why does it work well there, but then really starts to come apart in other areas of our lives? And, is it because we are literally coming up with some facade about who we are, or is it that we just don't know who to be, what to be, or how to be?
Yeah. So, I mean, we're scared to really put forth our true essence, our true self in the workplace. And it's understandable because there's so many times where it isn't really truly safe to really be fully yourself, right? And, there was an article that I posted about last week that was in the New York Times around truth. And really, like, the only person that should be themselves is Oprah. And I stated my stance on that because it's like, the truth is that the truth starts with us, right? Like, the author of this, of this article posed that basically it wasn't real, that we really shouldn't be it should be more about sincerity, and it shouldn't be about truth. But the thing is like, if it doesn't start with us, who is it going to start with? You know, we can continue to live like this, where we pretend like everything's okay. We pretend that we're not human, that we're not, that there's nothing wrong with us. But that isn't where our edge is, and that isn't what is going to change the world. And what's going to change the world is us really stepping into and owning our truth, and us all recognizing our humanness and loving each other for it, whether it's with what happened in Orlando, whether it's what's happening in the workplace. And let me tell you, like, for everyone that's in masculine energy in the workplace, and then they go into their relationships and they do not know how to be in that feminine energy, it, like, the thing that I've realized that could have changed everything in relationship for me, and changes everything in relationship with my clients, is men need to feel us, and they need to feel our feminine essence, right? And so it's one of those things where, you know, we come in with this defense in our relationships, and that men don't want to have the woman that's in the boardroom in the bedroom, right? And so they want to be able to feel us. And how do you start to really be felt? You start to be felt by connecting to your heart. So you can place your hand on your heart space and just start to breathe into your heart space. So you just literally start to breathe into that heart and allow your hand to keep expanding. And so you just allow yourself to access that heart space. That's one piece of just really starting to connect to that feminine energy. So you bring your energy down into the lower half of your body, you place your hand on your heart, and you tune into the love that we all are, right? So that's one way to really start to connect into it. But another piece is so notice when you're sharing your truth with somebody in relationship, how do you share that truth? How deep do you go about your fears? How deep do you go about what your truth really is? So I'll use the example. I'm in a relationship right now. It's a transitional relationship, which I can talk to you about. It's really fun to practice truth and to practice being in my feminine energy and to practice that vulnerability. So it's a really amazing, yummy. It's of my own creation. I love it. And I'll use the example he went and picked me up at the airport the other day, and he came inside and he got he helped me with my bags to the car, and I was so uncomfortable with the whole thing. I was so uncomfortable with the receiving of it. So uncomfortable with really just allowing someone to help me and to want, to really being able to be open to that. Right. And so I had talked to him about that, but all I said to him was, it made me so uncomfortable to I have a hard time receiving, and it made me so uncomfortable to it's basically to have someone show up so fully for me. Right.
Yeah.
And it was so I'd never really had someone that was always you go to the curb and they pick you up at the curb, and that was kind of typical what I had expected when I got off the plane. And so where I should have gone in that conversation, and something that would have been significantly more powerful, is that basically saying I have a hard time receiving. That was great. And then going deeper and saying, when you came in and you met me at the airport, I literally wanted to run, in the opposite direction. I literally so I could say I'm uncomfortable, but to really help someone connect deeper into that emotion of what that really, where I really wanted to go with that was just literally to go and flee, and go on. And it sounds contraindicative or counterintuitive, but it's for me, having someone show up so fully for me was really, really scary. And so if you can help someone to start to share your insides and share what's really up for you and why you're feeling the way that you're feeling, I mean, that can change everything.
Well, I think really what you're talking about is figuring this out. I think what we're talking about here is, and I love what you said. I'm not even sure what a transitional relationship is, but that's probably I know you didn't know. I know you knew you weren't going to get away with that, right?
Oh no, I want to say this because I think it's so important that. So here we go, right?
Yeah.
So we all have this idea that every relationship has to potentially be the possibility of it being the one, right?
Get the U-Haul. Get the U-Haul ready.
Right, get the U-Haul. And so. And that's heavy when you think about it, because if you think about the pressure when you go into a relationship and you have to make it be the one, And there's so many times when I've entered into a relationship and I've known it wasn't the one, and I haven't been honest with myself first and foremost. And then I haven't led with that honesty in partnership, you know? And so, of course, I end up creating the thing that I know intuitively because I can tune in and go, this isn't the guy. And yet for me, so, you know, I'm on this truth journey of how do I practice being in truth? How do I practice speaking my truth? How do I practice just owning my truth in every moment? And also like, I have a sense of who my partner is, right? In physical form. So I have a sense of who this person is. And so how do I practice, like, I still need to practice being in relationship, even if I'm not with this person. And there is huge benefit to me practicing with somebody else.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
so I created this transitional relationship, and I spoke truth from the beginning. I said, you know what? I don't feel like you're the person I meant to spend my life with, but I do feel this is an amazing opportunity for us to practice. How do we be in relationship? How do we communicate with one another? How do we be in truth with each other? And how do we, you know, we have the opportunity to bring up each other's stuff, which is a lot of why relationships are so amazing, right? Is they help really bring up our content. And so I can bring that up, I can clear it so that, you know, when the big love comes along, we're not clearing each other's stuff. Right. We're in a different energy. We're in a different space. And I mean, it's been ridiculously powerful, right? Because I get this opportunity to every single moment to keep owning my truth, keep showing up. Like the things that I had forgotten is to like, what happens when I'm in relationship with another person.
Yeah.
Like, it's all coming forth for me to say, okay, I'm going to make a new choice here. Oh, here's how I can do a better way. Here's how I could have done better communicating what I needed in this moment. Here's how I could have done better being relational and actually sharing what was my truth was and what my insides were. And here's how I can, you know, like he helps me, he'll say, you know, you're in feminine energy right now, or you're in masculine energy, which is like, you know, I mean, that's truth at its best, right? So it's been an like ridiculously powerful experience of like, okay, like this, you know, part of it was recognizing like I created this, like this relationship was of my own creation. And, you know, it's the work that I do with others. It's like helping people create the life that they truly want and they truly desire and deserve. And so here I was like, this relationship stepped in front and people would have said, you're like, this is crazy. There's no way you could find somebody who would be willing to do this with you. And here it is, and here I am. So it's really, really quite amazing and exciting and fun, as much as it cannot be fun at times.
I love this. I love what you're talking about so much that we're going to actually skip the break here, Benny, if we don't mind here, because we do have another session to give away, but also because why this is important. And why this is important for not just about the relationship that you have here. You know, I love what you're talking about. I had to do the same thing with my sister, one of my sisters. And, you know, I wasn't as clear as you just were, right? But I really had to say, I don't know how to be in relationship. You know, how can we heal the past? I want to say something else too about this. But before I do, we have another 30-minute energy clearing session from Deb. And the reason that I love this is because what you're hearing about Deb Acker, I've known Deb now for a while, and I'll tell you, this is who she is. This is how she shows up, and this is the work that she does. Anytime somebody is willing to come on an international show, a show like ours, and be this vulnerable and share, I got to tell you, they are in it to win it. You just don't come up. You don't come up on AM, FM, and all the M radios and talk like this, because I'll tell you what, we are exposed, she and I, right now. And we are here in service of all of you. I'm telling you, it is what I love to do. 1-800-930-2819. 1-800-930-2819. You know, the reason I wanted to hang with you on this is because you and I were talking about something during the break, and it really points to one of the things that we're going to talk about now. Why is our feminine energy a true asset for us? Why is it? Okay, I don't usually watch the ends, the CNNs and the them shows, right? Yes, I don't usually do it. But I don't know what happened. I don't know if somebody messed with my TV. Like, okay, here I am. I live alone. So, right, who's messing with me? Nobody. But I don't know how it happened. And all of a sudden I was watching the gentleman, Anderson Cooper. And there he was. And I love Anderson Cooper. I actually love his mom too. But all of a sudden he was crying. And I was just drawn to it. I didn't, I think I even had my sound muted on the TV. I think the sound was muted because I do that. I'm a little strange. But I could see him crying. I could see his lips quivering. And what he was doing, he was reading the names. That to me is, now I don't know about you, but we see that as feminine energy. There are some people in the media that looked at that and said he was not being a journalist. And I thought, OMG, for real? But aren't we talking about a level of vulnerability that does not mean weakness? Why do we equate femininity with weakness, Deb?
Well, so the way that so we've been trained that being emotional is wrong, right? Like we have, there's a deep-seated pattern around, if I'm emotional, I'm wrong. If I'm emotional in the workplace, I'm weak. I may be attacked. And the thing about it is the reason why you were drawn to that, Anderson Cooper was all about he was being in himself, right? He was being in his truth, and you felt connection there, right? And the truth is those emotions, we think sharing our truth and really being vulnerable and being who we are is weakness, but the truth is that's what creates true connection. And that's what creates beauty. And so it's recognizing, and it's this flow of just recognizing, when somebody shares their truth with you, their reality with you from a really vulnerable space, how do you really feel? If you look at what's happened, obviously what happened in Orlando, it's when you see I saw there was a list of names that I saw through Facebook, and one woman had basically shown the messages she got from her son, who was in the bathroom and texting his mom, and he was he was using the word mommy, and he was like, I love you, mommy. He knew that this was his last moments here on earth and in his body. And the thing is my heart broke for that. It wasn't I was there was no wrongness. There was nothing. When somebody shares the deepest depths of them, and they share their full truth, you don't want to run away. You want to run closer, because our human nature, whether we believe it or not, whether we're connected to it or not, our human nature is to want to love, want to help, want to really support and lift each other up. It isn't to tear each other down, and it isn't to beat each other up. And so it's this return. The thing is it's so unfortunate, because it's how many people are going to have to die for us to choose love? And that's
wow, that's a great question, Deb. I mean, that is a great question.
That's what comes up for me every time I see this mass shooting and it's how many people are going to have to die for us to know that love is all there is. Mm-hmm. And it breaks my heart. It makes me so sad when I see these things happening. And then it's you have people even debating within this, debating about gay rights.
What? I know. I don't get it myself. Love. Maybe you're from a different generation, so I wasn't really sure what your thinking was. I thought somebody said to me, Pat, you're just old and crusty. That's why you created crust busting. But it's interesting to hear your perspective on it.
Yeah, I mean, well, I feel like I'm an old soul, so.
Oh, thank you for agreeing with them.
Age is all relative, but it's for me, it's just all I see when this stuff happens, and I know it's a wild, big idea, is love. And I just see this opportunity to choose more love. And it's just moving towards this space. We don't have to have the debate on gay rights. We don't have to have this debate about guns. We need to refocus and recenter ourselves in love. And if you can see everything that's happening that is moving us towards more love, that focus and that drive and that shift can change everything.
Well, I think this is what you and I are talking about today. And, for me, we sat down as a team yesterday. And one of the things that I really was struck by. And by the way, Deb, yesterday I did a half-hour session, which was a poem that about perseverance that I learned from my mother, but also that I learned about how to really overcome obstacles. I mean, it's really important. I was really struck by in my life as I reflected back the many people that held out a hand to pull me up.
Yeah.
Many people, Deb, many people. And one of the things I was struck by in what you said today is I think about the many people that I may have wounded or harmed along the way to what you and I are calling success, right?
Yeah.
And what it was like to literally make amends to them. Even people in former relationships, right? What do we refer to them as? Our exes, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Especially those people. And what is it about the feminine energy that if we were sitting across the table from some of our leaders today, what might we say about this that might open up a door to a different way? What might we say? Because I don't know about you, but I have been in this battle for a long time. Somebody emailed me the other day and said, Patty, you're starting to get... They call me Patty. Benny calls me Pistol Pack and Patty. Don't do that anymore, Benny. But here it is. Somebody said to me the other day, man, are you getting worn out? And I said, why? They said, you're not really taking any action. So, Deb, my question to you is, what action do we want humanity to take so that we can fully express this feminine energy? And thank you so very much for today. You rock.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So, yeah, so, it's interesting because action is in the doing and feminine is in the being. And so...
Okay, so good.
If you can imagine, I'd say to the world leaders, to every single person that's ever been, and including myself. So like I have 20 plus years of having been in the corporate world. So I walk my talk, and it's like, if I could, if you're sitting across the table and if you could imagine magnetizing every single thing that you desire to you without having that effort. So you move into this space of calm, you move into this space of ease, of allowing, of peace. So just like really connect to those energies, right? It's like calm, peace, ease, allowing, feel those in your body and feel what that feels like. So if you can imagine being received so fully that all it is like you just being you, right? You showing up as you. I mean, that has the ability, like think about how relaxing it would be if you literally had no fronts up. If you literally were just able to just be in your true essence, to just be in yourself. Right? Like, just think about that. And so that right there. And then I dare you to have a conversation with somebody and tell them what you don't want them to know about you. And see, like, maybe at a networking event, maybe it's with a friend initially, and see how your relationship changes by sharing a piece of yourself in that way. See what happens. Because when I've seen it, I've sat in rooms with some of the most successful people in the world. I mean, people that everyone knows, okay? Yep. And I've seen them at their worst. And let me tell you, I love them more, not less. And you actually, it's like just this realization of how beautiful our pain is, how beautiful our vulnerabilities are. And that is where the juice is. That is where our power truly exists.
Wow. Deb, thank you so much for today. Thank you for all that you do. Please give out your website again. And thank you for the generous giveaways today. It's amazing. Please let folks know how they can contact you directly.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would if this work calls to you, if you are ready to step into a life of true vulnerability, of truth, of being in your feminine energy, of receiving, of abundance, of allowance, and creating dream relationships, just creating a life you do not want to take a vacation from, I would love, love, love to support you. You can find out more about me at DeborahAcker.com. That's DeborahAcker.com. You can also grab my free Living in Your Truth guide, and that's at bit.ly/livinginiyourtruthguide. And I invite you to join my Facebook community, Living in Your Truth, and that's at facebook.com/groups/living in your truth. And also come join me on Truth Talk Radio every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Pacific, and that's on transformationtalkradio.com.
And by the way, let me just mention, if you go to Deb's website, all of her past shows are up there, and I'm telling you, you will be as energized as you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, if you feel called to this work, I do a free 30-minute conversation, and I would love to talk to you further about this.
Exactly, because you know what? It's like Deb says, you got to try her on. I don't mean it that way. You know what I'm saying? That didn't come out right, Deb, but you get it.
I get it.
All right, everybody. We're going to take a shorty, and we'll be right back more with the Dr. Pat Show, continuing the dialogue. Join me. Let's write a new narrative. And the new narrative is that love lives. We'll be right back.
The preceding audio was via a Skype call.